You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another Devilman related video. Devilman is an incredibly long-running franchise that's been going on since the 70s. It has spawned multiple sequels, multiple readaptations, remakes, spin-offs, and shares the universe with many of other Gonagai works as well. Because this franchise has had tons of entries, it has a rich cast of characters, and although due to Devilman Crybaby's popularity, some new fans are being introduced to the core characters, there are many side characters that you may not be aware of. I myself am really into Devilman, in case you can't tell with how many fucking videos I've done on the subject on this channel, and today I'm going to be talking about what I think are 10 underrated Devilman characters. I'm going to be using characters from the Devilman sequels, spin-offs, and expanded universe. I will not be including characters from other Gonagai works which Devilman appears in, such as Cutie Honey, Hanape Bazooka, or Mazinger Z. However, I will be going over Devilman sequels, including non-canon Devilman sequels like Violence Jack, partially because Violence Jack is my favorite of the Devilman sequels. So without further ado, let's get right into this. Number 10, Demon Lord Dante, or Ryo Utsugi. Now the reason this is so low on the list is really because Demon Lord Dante isn't technically a Devilman character. The reason this still fits the criteria though is because Demon Lord Dante was actually the precursor to Devilman. Devilman was actually a readaptation of Demon Lord Dante to try and make it more anime-friendly. Ryo Utsugi is very similar to Akira Fudo. He has a few differences, obviously. His personality isn't anywhere near as fleshed out because he hasn't been as developed as a character. His merging with Dante is done completely differently than Akira's merging with Ammon. Ryo Utsugi, again, isn't as developed as a character, so that's another reason he's not as high up. But if you're new to Devilman, I definitely recommend checking out Demon Lord Dante so you can get familiar with the prototype Akira. He's still pretty cool, he's badass, he rides a motorcycle. He's also in love with his sister, who isn't really his sister. They go into that later on, it's kinda interesting. Number 9, TARE Makimura. So Kensaku Makimura, whose nickname is TARE, is Miki's younger brother. Again, he's a little bit lower on this list because I feel like people are slightly more familiar with him just because he is a core character and was included in Devilman Crybaby. TARE Makimura is very underutilized in Devilman Crybaby especially. Also in Devilman Crybaby they changed his name to Taro because they cut out the plot point where he always pisses himself, which is why his name is Tare. Tare actually means drip, so they call him Drip because he pisses himself all the time. Tare is much more prominent in the manga and even more so in the 70s anime, which is my favorite version of Tare just because he's a lot more like fleshed out and much more entertaining. He primarily starts as a comic relief character, but he does become a lot more prevalent as the episodes of the 70s series and the manga itself both go on. Tare Makimura is definitely one of the more known characters, but I'd say he's still pretty underrated. Number 8, LALA. So LALA is only in the 70s anime adaptation. She may also be in Devilman Grimoire because that does incorporate characters from the 70s anime into it. I don't know because I've never read Grimoire. LALA is introduced in an episode of the 70s Devilman initially as an enemy to Devilman, but she's a weak and ditzy demon who sucks. Like, she can't do anything right and everyone is constantly making fun of her. The only reason anyone keeps her around is because she has a pretty face, honestly. After her first appearance, she eventually falls in love with Devilman and decides to help him against the demon tribe, and becomes a central character for the rest of the series starting with episode 26. LALA can be annoying at times, but honestly she's not too bad of a character. She's kind of funny, she's more of a comic relief character too, and she does help Devilman out in certain battles and things, so I definitely feel she's underrated and a lot lesser known, especially to the newer fans. If you've watched the 70s series, then you know who LALA is, but I feel like a lot of newer fans aren't as familiar with the 70s series. Number 7, Devilman Liger and Jason Bates. I put these two together because they play essentially the same role, plus I can't find any pictures of Devilman Liger online. I could take screenshots from the manga, but I'd have to find the exact parts where he appears, and frankly, I'm too lazy to do that, so we're going to be using both of them as one character, even though they're actually two separate characters, they're tied. Both of them are introduced as somewhat love interests for Jun Fudo in Devilman Lady and the Devilman Lady anime. Devilman Liger is a lot more of a kind-hearted character than Jason Bates, but Jason Bates I feel is a little bit more complex and a lot more beast-like. The two, as I said, do play similar roles, and they're both really good characters. They're not referenced very often, but they are pretty interesting anyway. Number 6, Slum King. So in Violence Jack, several different Devilman characters get reincarnated as different characters within Violence Jack, and the Slum King is one of them. In the original Violence Jack manga, Slum King is actually a reincarnation of Xenon from Devilman, and Xenon, if you don't know, was one of Satan's main generals in the original Devilman, and also the main villain of the Devilman 70s series. Slum King, in his human form, has a muscle disorder where if he's not constantly putting strain on his muscles, his fucking skin and muscles will all, like, explode. It's really weird. He's so buff, his muscles will kill him if he's not constantly putting strain on them, which is why he wears incredibly heavy armor at all times. He also has Ryo and Miki both as dog people, which means he cut off their arms and legs and uses them as like little slave people that he keeps around. This does eventually lead into the final confrontation with Satan in the original Violence Jack, because Ryo awakens and becomes Satan again. But Slum King himself is pretty cool. He doesn't really get utilized that well in the Violence Jack OVAs. He only appears in 2 of them, and one of them it's only for a brief moment. The other, Jack fights him and then leaves him, and they don't see him again, so. Number 5. Skull King. Yes, Skull King is a separate character from Slum King, and I want to correct myself on something. I did say that Skull King was a Slum King surrogate in Shin Violence Jack, and honestly he kind of is, but really there's a lot more to him than that. Skull King is actually the reincarnation of Ryo, which means of course he is the reincarnation of Satan. Now because of that, there's a lot more depth to him, and he initially has no memory of who he is and begins getting his memory slowly back as the Slum Queen is helping him remember it. Now, with him being a character from Shin Violence Jack, I don't know if he's considered part of Violence Jack as well, because I don't know if Shin Violence Jack is a sequel or a remake, because I honestly can't tell, because they are very different series. And Shin Violence Jack makes references to Violence Jack, but there's a lot of different things that are inconsistent if so. My best guess, if it is a sequel, it's another reincarnation of the world, which Violence Jack itself is a reincarnation of the Devilman world. But Shin Violence Jack is very good, and Skull King is honestly one of the better villains from it. Especially since, like I said, he is Ryo Ahsoka. Number 4. Alphonne. So if you're a Cutie Honey fan, you're probably familiar with his female counterpart in the Cutie Honey series. But if you didn't know, Alphonne actually was originally a male teacher that appeared in the Devilman series. He's mostly a comic relief character that's clumsy, perverted, and always getting hurt. But he's entertaining every time he's on the screen, and I absolutely love him. He's a riot. He gets hurt all the time. He's stupid, he's klutzy, he's perverted, and on a couple occasions gets possessed by different demons. Alphonne only appears in the 70s version of Devilman, and therefore isn't in any of the manga versions to my knowledge. Again, as I said, he does have a female counterpart in the Cutie Honey series. Number 3, Drango. Again, we're doing another 70s series character. If you don't know, in the 70s series, Drango was Devilman's best friend back when he was just a demon. You see, in the 70s series, Devilman actually isn't a merging of Akira and Ammon. It's actually a demon by the name of Devilman who takes over the corpse of Akira and takes his place after Akira gets killed. Drango was also used in Devilman Grimoire, but Grimoire has the whole merging with Ammon thing, so honestly it wouldn't have the same effect. This was the first time in the 70s series I actually thought it was sad, because Devilman has to kill his best friend or be killed by his best friend, and it's a sad battle and it has sad music to accompany it. Drango was only in one episode, which I feel was a bit unfair because he was a very interesting character and he was a concept I would have liked to see more fleshed out. Again, he is in Grimoire as well, but I don't know how that would work out as well because Akira is in control of Ammon entirely, so I don't feel like it would have the same impact. He's not killing his best friend, it's just Drango is being killed by the image of his best friend. It's not the same. So the 70s Drango is really the one I'm talking about here. Very good character, very underrated. Number 2, Jun Fudo. Jun Fudo is the main character in Devilman Lady, the canon sequel to Devilman. Both the anime and the manga versions of Jun Fudo are somewhat different characters, but she's portrayed as a kind-hearted person in both versions. She also becomes Devilman Lady and goes out to fight demons. She's very different from Akira in that when Akira first becomes Devilman, he immediately rushes in to kill all the demons. But when she becomes Devilman Lady, she's hesitant about it. She has an inner struggle. She's like, can I really be called human if I kill all these people? Even if they're beasts, is it still right? Her inner struggle makes her much more of an interesting character than you would think. And honestly, in some ways, she's better than Akira. I still prefer Akira as a character, but she's pretty damn good, and honestly, I would say, even though I like Akira better, I would say Jun is probably a deeper character. Unfortunately, in the manga version, this does kind of get fucked over by the fact that Jun isn't even her own character, she's just one half of Satan. In the anime, there isn't this problem, though, because she is her own character and gets to be fleshed out and be her own person. Although I do prefer the manga, I think that Jun as a character is portrayed definitely better in the anime. But both versions of Jun are great, and as I said, said, the manga, in my opinion, has a better story, and it ties back to the original Devilman, which the anime really doesn't. Number 1, Violence Jack. You probably saw this one coming if you've been watching my channel for a while, because as I've said on multiple occasions, even though it's not considered canon, Violence Jack is my favorite of the Devilman sequels, and it's the one I always think about when I think of Devilman sequels. The way I like to look at it is Violence Jack is the sequel, but then Gonagai later on was like, no, I want to do it differently. Violence Jack, if you don't know, is considered to be a alternate continuation of Devilman at this point, and Devilman Lady and Devilman Saga are the canon continuations. So Violence Jack, as a character, is a reincarnation of Akira Fudo, but you don't figure this out until the final chapter of the original Violence Jack. It's pretty clear from the start in Shin Violence Jack, like he turns into Devilman in the first chapter, but the original Violence Jack, they're a lot more mysterious with it. In fact, for like 90% of the original Violence Jack, you have no idea anything about Jack. He's a very mysterious character. And because not all of Violence Jack has been translated, I can't say for certain everything that happens in it, but they tell you very early on that he has no memory of who he is, and that he gets his name from his jackknife, and the fact that he creates storms of violence wherever he goes, so he's Violence Jack. Violence Jack is a big hulking behemoth that wanders a desolate wasteland, helping the weak become stronger and survive the apocalypse. And then, of course, confronting Satan in the end again. There are actually 3 forms of Violence Jack. There's Jack himself, which is the main one. Then there's Kid Jack, which I'm not as familiar with, but he does appear in Shin Violence Jack pretty early on as well. So there's Kid Jack, and then there's also Woman Jack, which, again, I'm not really that familiar with because later chapters of the manga haven't been translated, and I've only seen scans of them that aren't translated. Sometimes these are shown as separate entities, and in fact, the 3 have to merge together again to become Devilman in the original Violence Jack. Jack himself can be inconsistent at times. He's usually wanting to protect the innocent and help them get stronger, but there are instances where he does some fucked up shit. One thing that a viewer pointed out to me in a previous video I did talking about Violence Jack's moral code, there is actually a part where he does kill the innocent. There's a part in the Slums of Kanto arc where the Slum King's gang has this little girl as a hostage. They're like, oh, we've got a hostage, and then Jack just fucking kills her and is like, ha, now you don't. It's like, what the hell? And then he's like, if you're not willing to kill hostages, you're not willing to win a battle or some shit like that. But then other times he wants to save people and won't let them be taken hostage. Like in Shin Violence Jack, when Sarah gets taken hostage, he rushes his ass over there to save her. So he can be inconsistent, but he is a good character nonetheless. But yeah, that's my top 10 underrated Devilman characters. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below, if you agree with me, if you disagree, if you have any characters that you felt I should have put on here but didn't, and what your thoughts are on the Devilman franchise as a whole. Anyway, this has been Fugitive Red Eye, and you have a great day.
Subscribe to Fugitive Red Eye.